All right. So have you ever really thought about this whole idea of love and loss?
Hmm.
Like, is it actually better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all?
The age-old question,
It
right?
really is. And, it's something that we're going to try to dive into today. We're actually looking at another podcast
Oh, cool.
called Love and Loss. And specifically, their first episode
Right.
called Is It Better to Have Loved and Lost? So, you know, they really tackle this head on.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It is a big one, big question.
Yeah.
So one of the things that they start off with is they really make a case for love.
Okay.
You know, they say it brings joy, it
Mhm.
brings fulfillment, it brings a sense of connection.
Mm-hmm.
But then they even go beyond that.
Oh, wow.
And they say that it shapes our identities.
Oh, interesting.
Helps us to grow,
Yeah.
helps to develop empathy, maybe even find strengths that we didn't know we had.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Love can definitely push you out of your comfort zone a bit.
Right.
Like you have to sort of confront
Yeah.
maybe some insecurities or
Yeah.
things that you're
Cheers.
Yeah, exactly.
Cheers.
You're not totally comfortable with.
Yeah. And I think in that process,
Yeah.
we grow and we learn about ourselves and we kind of build those strengths.
I totally agree. And the podcast even went on to say that even when a relationship ends and you experience that loss,
Mhm.
the memories
Yeah.
that you built together, the joy that you shared, that can live on and give you a sense of comfort, a sense of strength, a sense of resilience.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost like a little
Mhm.
storehouse of good feelings and happy times that you can kind of draw on later on.
Exactly. So it kind of makes you think about heartbreak in a different way, right? Because
Mhm.
the podcast didn't shy away from talking about how painful loss can be.
Right, yeah. Like, it can be absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
That feeling of loneliness, despair, it can make you wonder, is any of this even worth it? And I think everyone at some point in their life has probably asked that question.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you ever felt that way?
Oh, absolutely. I think, heartbreak is one of those universal experiences that can just really shake you to your core.
Yeah. And the podcast shared some really personal stories from listeners about their own experiences with love and loss.
Oh, wow.
Obviously, we can't share those for privacy reasons,
Right, of course.
but they were really powerful and they really drove home this point that, love is both incredibly beautiful
Yeah.
and incredibly painful.
Exactly. It's like, two sides of the same coin.
It is.
Ah.
So, we've been talking about this idea that love is worth it even if there's a chance of loss.
Mm-hmm.
But the podcast actually brought up another perspective,
Oh, okay.
which is, maybe it's better to just never have loved at all.
Really? Wow, that's a different take.
It is. So what would you say is the thinking behind that?
Well, I think for some people it's about, protecting themselves,
Mm.
like prioritizing that emotional safety and stability above everything else.
Okay.
So, they'd rather not risk that potential for heartbreak, even if it means missing out on the joy and the connection.
Got it. So almost like, they're choosing to stay maybe in a safe harbor instead of sailing out
Right, yeah.
into the open sea,
Uh-huh.
where there might be storms,
Exactly.
but there also might be amazing discoveries.
Yeah, it's like choosing the known over the unknown, even if the unknown has the potential to be really incredible.
So we've got these two very different perspectives.
Yeah.
This idea of to love or not to love,
Right.
to risk it or
Yeah.
to play it safe.
Yeah, tough choices.
It is. So is there like a middle ground?
Well, I think the podcast sort of hinted at that a little bit. They
Okay.
talked about maybe, instead of getting caught up in this idea of forever love,
Mm-hmm.
what if we just focused on appreciating the love that we have in the moment?
Yeah.
Like being present, enjoying the connection without letting that fear of the future kind of spoil it.
I like that. So it's not about choosing a side. It's about finding a way for both these ideas to exist.
Yeah, I think so.
So after exploring all these different facets of love and loss, did the podcast actually give like a definitive answer to this question?
Not really, no. They kind of left it up to the listener to decide.
Okay. So ultimately, they're acknowledging that there's no right or wrong answer.
Exactly. It's such a personal thing, and, everyone's going to have their own unique perspective on it.
And I think what the podcast did really well was just lay out all these different sides, all these different arguments, all these different perspectives.
Yeah.
And it really makes you think.
It does. It makes you think about, your own beliefs about love and loss and what you're willing to risk and what's important to you.
Exactly. So maybe, the question isn't about avoiding pain,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe it's about what we're willing to risk to experience that kind of deep connection.
That's a good point.
So I think as we wrap up here, a final thought for you to consider If love's value isn't just determined by how long it lasts,
Mhm.
what else contributes to its significance?
Mhm.
What makes love truly meaningful for you? Something to think about as you continue to navigate this whole
Yeah.
world of love and
It's
loss.
a journey, that's for sure.
It is a journey.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
And until next time, keep exploring.
Yeah. Keep those questions coming. I'll see you then. See ya.